This one's for anyone who wants to build their side hustle up enough where they can quit their 9-to-5. Our guests today started 2 years ago doing wholesaling real estate, which is the proven business model that we teach you on this podcast. My name's David Lecko, and I helped people close 10,000 real estate wholesale deals in the last 7 years with the software platform DealMachine. Ryan, my co-host, has actually been wholesaling since 2019. Why did you get started, Ryan?
For this exact same reason. I got started in wholesaling to get myself in a position financially to leave my 9-to-5 job, and I was able to successfully do that and have not been in a 9-to-5 since 2019.
Love it. And so tell me one good thing about your life now compared to working that 9-to-5 job.
Now I have the freedom and flexibility to do what I want, when I want, where I want, with who I want, which was part of the whole intention. I can be more at home with my family and my kids, and I can enjoy the lifestyle I want to have.
Got it. I love that. What's a specific example of like you doing what you want when you want?
I have a really spontaneous personality. A lot of times I want to go and do something on the spot, on the fly, and Megan, she just goes along with it. But on occasion, I have had these random itches. I want to go golfing, but I can't just go to the local country club. I have to go 4 hours away, play golf, and then come back the next day. And Megan gives me the freedom and flexibility because we have built a sustainable business.
Love that. Are you pretty good at golfing?
I would say scratch at best.
Okay, I got it. Well, you guys, if you want this in your life and you want to learn wholesaling real estate, you're going to love this episode because, like I said, our guests have done this in just less than 2 years. So we're going to hear how they started as a beginner and then how they've evolved their business to earn more money and have more opportunity for themselves as they got more advanced. So Mike and Jae, how much did you make on your very first wholesale, real estate wholesale deal?
Absolutely. It was $6,680 and I think 60 cents. It was like something crazy because there was a lien on the property.
Okay. So what's a lien, by the way?
So a lien is basically something that either a company can put against your home or a county or a city or whatever it may be for an unpaid debt. That's the best way to put it. And the unpaid debt on this property was it was a mechanic's lien because they didn't pay a contractor for work that was done. And that came up in title, and there were some things that needed to get replaced. So
okay. So this house was run down, right? You're saying?
Yeah, so this house we actually found it by posting in a local Facebook group with a yellow sign saying we buy houses full price, and Jay was holding the yellow sign, as is any condition. Seller reached out through Facebook, and the house was in pretty deplorable condition. We locked it up, and this is in a rural Pennsylvania market. We locked it up for about $40,000, and then had to go back and renegotiate a couple of times. And the ARV was probably about 125, 130. And this was right at the beginning of COVID when buyers were picking anything up. So
ARV is after repair value. So it's worth $130,000 in perfect condition. And you could tell that by looking at comparable sales that sold recently, right?
Correct.
And you got it under contract for $40,000. So it must have needed quite a bit of work.
Yep.
And you didn't spend your own $40,000, but once you got it under contract, you found an investor. Where did you find an investor that actually closed on the deal?
Yep, absolutely. So we pretty much utilize Facebook till this day still for majority of our business. So we found the deal on Facebook and we found the buyer on Facebook by posting in the local investor group. And the buyer reached out and said he was interested, went to go see it. And we decided that.
Okay.
So, go ahead.
What did you mean by you found the deal on Facebook? I'm very curious.
That's a good point.
Yeah, absolutely. So if for the first year or so of us doing any type of wholesaling acquisitions, anything, we did everything with free marketing. So we utilized social media and Facebook to do that. And one of our signature ads that we still use to this day, and we give it to you guys, is Jay wearing very vibrant colors, standing with a vibrant background, holding a yellow bandit sign that says, "I pay full price for homes, as is any condition." And we posted into the Facebook yard sale groups, community groups, in whatever state or whatever area that we're looking to buy in. And we still utilize it to this day, but for the first year, we did solely free organic marketing, meaning...
Yeah, and at that point, they're not cold outreach, they're inbound, so they're coming to us, letting us know, hey, yeah, I'm looking to sell, I'm thinking about it.
Yep, and the lady just DM'd me on Facebook, or it was Jay actually, and said, "Hey, I saw your post. I have a house. This is the address." And then from there, we just run our script. So it's a really easy way to get sellers to reach out to you without having to go pull lists and do all the cold calling and text blasting and all that, and to get motivated sellers to come reach out to you.
Yeah, and that's the easiest. Once even if your first strategy is driving for dollars, you're still sending postcards to get people to call you, and that is the easiest way to do it. It's a little nerve-wracking because a lot of times it's a sit and wait kind of game. You're waiting for the phone to ring, but when the phone does ring, you know that they're fairly motivated to sell. So you have that one piece in the motivation. Hey, they're calling me. That means they want something. That means they want to sell the house. So it makes the conversation a little bit easier versus cold calling and asking, hey, do you want to sell your house? They're calling you. So it's kind of like that power position. You're putting yourself in a power position by creating a marketing strategy that forces the calls to come to you versus you having to work so hard to go to that. One thing I have to go back and ask, you'd mentioned that you had to renegotiate a couple times. Why did you have to renegotiate, and how did that conversation go with the seller?
Absolutely. So since this was our first deal, I was like, both of us had that pit in our stomach, like, oh my God, what are we going to do? How are we going to do this? So basically what happened was, first and foremost, we had the buyer, and the buyer that we were going to assign our contract to went to go see it and said, hey, there are some things that, you don't know about and with the house and things like that. And my price is going to have to be here now, not here. Mm-hmm. So we had to go back to the seller and say, look, we found a couple things that, maybe you didn't bring up to us, and, that's okay. It's no big deal. But at the end of the day, I know that I'm going to have to put XYZ more into it now. And I'd rather just be transparent with you and not drag this out and say, look, I'm here. I'm going to get the deal done. I'm going to make this work, but I need you to work with me just a little bit. And then I need to be at X. How close can you get to that with me? And then from there, the sellers were kicking back. They were up.
How nervous were you to have that conversation?
Oh, I had to take a lap around the block like 3 times.
While you're on the phone, like pacing kind of?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so how did they
till this day? When I'm on the phone, because I do a lot of the seller calls, I pace around. But at that point in time, I was running around, and I got off the call, and I was like, wow, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. It was nerve-wracking. The second call to renegotiate was the one where I was like, oh, man, like we're here at the end of the finish line. We're about to get our first deal done. Now I have to have this phone call again, and I don't think that they're going to go for it. So when the title report came back, right? So when you do a whole, any type of real estate transaction, there's something called a title report. And it's going to show, is there any of those debts or liens on the home that were unforeseen? So the title report showed that there was I think it was a $5,000 and change lien on the home from a contractor that they never paid. And that needed to get paid off. But because me and Jay didn't have a big spread on the deal between what we had it with the seller for and what we gave it to our buyer for, and we wouldn't have been able to say, hey, I'll eat that cost, or the buyer wouldn't have wanted to pay for it. So we had to go back to the seller and say, hey, this is what we found. These are the facts. We're supposed to close in 3 days from now, and we can still get you paid, but it's going to be X amount less than what you thought, but we can still get it done, and we're right here at the finish line. If you decide not to work with us, you have to start over again. And I actually, at the time, me and Jay, like, for role playing and all that stuff to make sure that I said it right. So what came down to it was the seller said, well, I can't pay the whole cost. So we decided to, like, split it so we can get the deal done. And that's why our assignment fee was kind of like a weird number. So
What did you have your assignment fee originally set at?
it was like, we wanted to get 10K on our first deal, but after renegotiating and everything, we were supposed to walk away with, I think, 8,000. And then after telling the seller we would help them out with the lien, they said that they would pay X percentage and we would pay X percentage. And that's why our assignment fee got dropped to like 6,500 and change.
Yeah, that's good though, because you had the ability with that assignment fee, you had the ability to give a little for them, but also not require as much. You're still coming to them in the approach that we can help you with that part. And you still made $6,600 on, and how long did that take you to get that first deal done?
We were in and out in 30 days. So we found the deal on like early October, and by November we were closed. And we had no expenses out of pocket, just our time, which was nice.
Yeah, no overhead, and it took you roughly 30 days to get that from start to finish. That's the return on that is amazing.
Yep.
So yeah, where has this evolved? What has happened? What has transpired next?
I think we're losing you a little bit, guys, but
Yes.
Yeah, go ask it again, Ryan.
So what has transpired since that first deal? What does business look like now? How many deals have you done since getting that one under your belt? And what does business look like now?
absolutely. So we have done since then, that was in 2021. And that was our first deal we ever did off market, anything like that. Since then, we've closed right over 100 transactions.
Nice.
So,
Both cash and creative.
yep. So right around that time, we wanted to not only, like wholesale properties, and we also wanted to buy properties for ourselves too as well. And we recognized, hey, I think there's a big market for us to be able to do both if we were to look at seller financing and things of that nature. So right now, our overall business model is acquiring creative financing deals through social media, through our organic sources still, as well as paid marketing with Facebook ads. And we typically are assigning those deals to investors. So instead of getting a cash deal, we assign a creative deal.
Hey guys, if you know you want to quit your job in the next 3 months, make sure you're subscribed to this podcast, because we've got some incredible frameworks with step-by-step instruction that you're not going to want to miss. Also, leave us a rating and review to let us know your favorite parts and why you want to get financial freedom.
Got it. So the cash deal is obviously more straightforward.
Yeah.
In the first deal that you did, it was worth $130,000. You got it for $40,000, and then you sold, like, I don't know how big the lien was exactly, but say $10,000 lien. You guys made $6,000, so that must mean you assigned it to an investor for like $56,000, something like that, right? So you'd walk away with that cash immediately, and then they're said and done. But let's say that homeowner owed $60,000. They could not have done that deal because they owed someone else on their property more than what they were receiving as the proceeds from that deal. But you're saying that with creative finance, you could still wholesale that deal and you yourself make actual cash for the assignment?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for example,
walk us through one of those deals.
Yeah, for sure. So we have one. I'll walk you through a current one that we have right now. So we have one in Texas. The seller bought it 3 years ago, right? And she reached out and said, Mike Jae, I want to sell my home. I need to get out of it fast. I do not want to put it on the market with a realtor. It needs some work, and I don't have the money to do that. How can you help me? And we ran our script on her. So we have a 10-question script gathering all information. And she had let us know that, hey, I owe about $180,000 on the house. The house, after we ran our comparable sales, was only worth about $200,000, right? So there was not enough of room for us to give her a cash offer. So we said, well, why don't we do this? If you're looking to just walk away from it and get out of it with no expenses, we'll just take over the payments of your mortgage on your behalf. We'll pay all the closing costs, and we'll buy it as is. And then what happened is we said, hey, this isn't something that we want to keep. We know that somebody else in that area, it's in Houston, would want it. So we went and we put it out on Facebook and all the Facebook groups, the local investor groups, and we offered it to another investor for them to take over the payments on that seller's behalf, but while giving us a $20,000 assignment fee.
Mind you, this house was built in 2019, only had one owner. She was the builder.
Yep. So a lot of these creative financing wholesale deals, we're assigning turnkey, really nice homes. And the best part about it is it makes it very easy for the end buyer to make a quick decision and for you to run your numbers. But there's a lot of intricacies that go into it as well.
Okay, so the seller is actually just keeping their mortgage intact, keeping it in their name, but they're letting the buyer take over the payments, right?
Correct. So on the day of closing, the ownership of the home will transfer to the buyer, and the mortgage stays in the seller's name. So the buyer actually never has any debt in their name, and they get to take over a lower interest rate as well.
Got it. So normally, how does the purchase and sale agreement look different for a deal like that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So in a purchase and sale agreement for let's just say a creative or subject to deal, that's the legal name for it. It'll state that, hey, the purchase price is X, and of that purchase price, there's another line that says existing loans taken subject to. And what that means is that is the loan balance on that person's mortgage at that time. So for example, with this property, the loan balance was $181, and the seller just wanted to sell for what she owed, so the purchase price was also $181. And it's very simple. It's very straightforward.
Okay, got it. And then what would your assignment fee be?
Absolutely. So we actually assigned this one for a $20,000 assignment fee.
Whoa, nice.
Well, hold on. Okay, so the cash buyer that you found is paying you. They have cash, right? So they're paying you $20,000. So they're all in for $200,000, which is exactly what you said the house is worth. But it's nice for them because they're getting it at a lower interest rate, right?
Correct. Yep. So they don't have to come to the closing table with $200,000. They just have to come to the closing table with our assignment fee and closing costs. So they can buy a $200,000 home at a 3.8% interest rate with only about $25,000 out of pocket.
Got it. Hey, what happens if that buyer stops paying the mortgage? Are you still tied to this deal, or can it go wrong like that? What happens?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a great question. I'll take that one.
Yeah.
So you as a wholesaler, your responsibility is to marry both parties. There's paperwork put together with the attorneys where it says that if the buyer defaults for whatever reason, the seller does get the house back. But there is paperwork stating that the buyer is responsible to make those payments on the seller's behalf.
And in our assignment form, we have a clause. So we had an attorney put together a special assignment form for creative deals because there's more liability not only for us, but for the seller and for the buyer. So in the assignment form, it states that the buyer is releasing us for any harm, any any recourse that can happen down the road. And then the same thing with the seller. We have basically, we call them CYAs, but like addendums and stuff, that the seller also signs, relieving us of any liability if anything went wrong. But we protect the seller by having the attorney make sure that there's certain paperwork put in place, such as a mortgage, a note, and what's called a deed in lieu of foreclosure.
And that's the deed in lieu is dependent on the state.
Correct.
I will say that wholesaling creative deals is not for beginners.
Nope.
Right.
We would never advise anybody that's a beginner to start with wholesaling creative deals, because you can really mess up yourself, the buyer, and the seller. Cash is the best way to start.
How long did you guys stick with your just regular wholesaling before you started doing these wholesaling creative financing?
It was not long after.
So I have to preface that I was a commercial real estate paralegal. So a lot of the stuff I kind of knew how to maneuver, ask questions, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
We had, right after we did that one wholesale deal, our first deal, we had a seller reach out to us who wanted to sell for what he owed. So it kind of was something where it fell in our lap, and we were like, okay, well, this is a beautiful house. The numbers work great. I think we can make this work. And then that's where that kind of ball started rolling. And then we still do cash deals till this day. It's kind of like a sprinkle of whatever the leads come in, how can we capitalize it on the best way, right? So.
Love it.
Got it. I'm glad you made the clarification that you recommend for beginners that they do the traditional wholesaling, which is just a cash deal and it's more simple. So I just wanted to throw out any beginners wanting to know how to start that. Check out DealMachine episode 139. We actually did a 7-day challenge for getting your first wholesale deal the traditional way. So that is a good episode to check out. So Mike and Jae, why don't you tell us, what is it like working together? Most people are kind of doing this on their own. So I'm curious how you guys split duties and make sure that you have good communication.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a great question. Because we are obviously partners in business and outside, we first and foremost are best friends before anything. But we know that when it comes to business, everything else stays behind. In terms of roles and responsibilities, those kind of fell in our lap of who is good at what and who's more comfortable at doing things. So Mike is very much the front end in terms of talking with sellers, while I am the back end running our team, systems, operations, stuff like that. And yeah, do you have anything else?
When we started, we basically were doing everything together. And then we slowly started to figure out what I don't like, what Jay doesn't like, and what we both are good at. And then that's kind of how it naturally spread apart. And now we just stay in our lanes, because as soon as we start crossing lanes,
Yeah.
and
It's messy.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, right now I'm doing the seller calls. I'm talking with our VAs and making sure that our leads are clean and, everything is moving down the pipeline smoothly with our TC. And then Jay is handling operations, making sure that the systems are running properly, making sure that everybody's doing their job the right way,
Trainings, all that good stuff.
hiring, all that.
Very cool. So I've been in business. I own DealMachine 50% with my partner. I think one of the reasons why we've seen so many partners come and go in the industry, but ours has lasted 8 years, is because we wrote everything down from the very beginning about who would do what, who owns what percentage of the business, and exactly what happens if we don't want to be partners anymore. So I just think that's always a good idea, even if you don't have a fancy agreement, to just write it down. If somebody listening is going to be working with a partner, write it down so that there's no question or misunderstanding as you go down the road. So, Mike and Jae, what are your goals? I would like to wrap up with, what are your goals for your business moving forward?
Yeah. Absolutely. So right now our goals are to grow and scale to remove me out of the closer position. So we quit our W-2 jobs. It is 2 years ago. Actually, this week. That's crazy. I just realized that. It's
Congratulations. That's awesome.
It's awesome. That's the whole point of all of this.
Yep. It's crazy. After Memorial Day weekend, I know we'll get to the goals. Our jobs had said, hey, you have to come back to the office. And me and Jay looked at each other and said, we're taking a chance. But that's how that happened. So our goal right now is to get me out of the closer seat so we can start to focus on other objectives, which is different marketing channels and trying to scale the business to a little bit of a higher level. So right now we have a team of 2 VAs, a transaction coordinator, and a dispo manager. And I am that closer role. So as soon as I can get out of that closer role, me and Jay are more in the higher scale positions and can just focus on now creating processes for that and multiplying. So our goal right now this year is by December of 2024 to have a closer hired, onboarded, trained, and starting to at least try and close their first deal.
So that we can have a well-oiled deal machine,
Yeah. One of the things I like how you've approached your business is that you are hiring to get work off your plate rather than hiring to learn something new.
Yeah.
So it's very, very wise of you to be hiring to free up your time, because that's the whole point in starting a business. And plus, let's say you guys do want to try something new. It's best for the entrepreneur to be the one to figure that out first and systematize it before bringing in somebody to try something new. So I like that distinction and how you guys are approaching that. So for those of you listening, if you're brand new, again, check out episode 139 to do the 7-day challenge. And Mike and Jae, we wish you all the best. Do you have a social media where any listeners could follow you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am Roman, ROMAN .with.J. Roman is our dog.
And I'm Roman with Mike on Instagram. So you guys give us a follow. If you ever have any questions about getting started or how we got started, just reach out. Let us know.
Appreciate you guys offering to help that. And shout out to Roman. And we'll see you guys from the next episode.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you so much for having us, both of you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
See ya. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for listening to the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please leave us a review and follow along wherever you're listening to your podcast.